Hello and welcome. This is Cricbuzz Live. What are we doing here today? Aaj to koi game bhi nahi hai, no game, nothing. But we never forget you, man. Because whether a game is being played or not, we know you're cricket fanatics, you're cricket fans, you love discussing cricket, you love collecting here. This little community, this little party that we have going on every day. So today, on the first day where there's no game happening in forever, we've got a league stage review that we are bringing to you. A look at all 10 teams and how they've done over the 70 games of the league over the last 2 months. And of course, looking forward to the final 4 games, the playoffs, the excitement before somebody lifts the cup. Who will it be? Who's done what? Who, how, when, why? To discuss all of this, I'm Gaurav Kapur. And joining me are my 2 big brothers, Mr. Joy Bhattacharya from the land of books. Hello, how are you, sir?
The books want to reply, but unfortunately, I've sort of chained them up and kept them. So you'll have to do with me for the all good.
The land of the 1,000 books is where Joy is sitting, and the land of 1,000 cooks is where Harsha Bhogle is, because I just love the food in Kolkata. Ooh, mishti. How are you, Mr. Bhogle?
I'm very well. I complained about the internet, so they sent me loads of Sandesh. As if Sandesh is going to make the net speed faster, but that's okay.
They believe that's Bengal. They believe that anything can work if you get enough from this. I mean, that's a principle.
That's the truth. The point is that it doesn't matter whether the work gets done or not, is that you will have a sweet disposition. And that's all that matters. And that's what I love about Kolkata.
Is that why you're trying to wear Kolkata colors? Because they didn't qualify and you want to be friendly with Joy.
This is like electric pink. So I don't know.
Is it?
Yeah, I think you had too much on this. I think you're high. You've got a sugar high.
I think if Kolkata marries Rajasthan, that's what you get.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's when desert meets dessert. Yeah, that's what we've got happening over here.
Oh, you're in decent form, man. It looks like you had some dessert.
I don't know what's going on. I haven't even had a sip of coffee today. And this is my first. Ooh, stand back, everybody, because this is going to get nasty. All right, we've got 10 teams to talk about. So, I mean, come on, let's get the show on the road, yeah? Because every year we do the show, but we have 8 teams to talk about. Today, we've got 10. And Mr. Bhogle has got his meter running by the minute with us. So, we better rush to it. Yes, Joy? Let's go. All right, let's have a look at the points table, just in case you've just woken up after an 8-week siesta. Let me tell you what has happened. The 4 teams that have qualified in that order are Gujarat, Rajasthan, Lucknow, and Bangalore. Delhi, so close yet so far. They had it in their hands in that last game. They had to beat Mumbai to qualify. Unfortunately, they couldn't do that. Punjab won their last game last night. And they will also be ruining the fact that there were some close games that they lost. Otherwise, they could have been in contention as well. And for Kolkata, Hyderabad, Chennai, and Mumbai, this probably is a season to forget. Maybe for Hyderabad, it's half a season to remember when they got 5 wins in a row, and the rest of the season to forget. So that's what it looks like. Quick reactions, gentlemen, before we get going. Mr. Bhogle, we can get you going on the top 4.
I was actually looking at the bottom 3, because the bottom 4, because the only teams to have won the IPL since 2010 are all at the bottom.
That's right.
There's only 4 teams to win it are all at the bottom.
There's only 1 trophy in the top 6. 1 trophy. That's it. Just
that
Rajasthan. The first one. Yeah. I feel the system's reset now and that's gone. I feel like we can say this is even if Rajasthan wins, we can say it's a new winner now. But you've got such a valid point that literally the tables have turned, haven't they?
Yeah, and this is very interesting because it's come right off a mega auction. So mega auctions are your restart buttons normally in the tournament, and obviously something really dramatic has happened out here, because part of it can be explained with form and okay, these teams have done better, some teams have overperformed, but definitely there's been a huge difference in the auction. And I go back again and I say this to you, that the way the auction is done for retaining players, the amount of money you have to play, it is actually a problem to have too many good players, because retaining them is too high a cost. I feel somewhere they've got to work that ratio better, because it's hurting top teams. It's hurt Delhi, it hurt Mumbai definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Harsha, your reaction on the top 4?
My reaction was I saw a little red coming up and I thought I must go and eat some Sandesh and come to get that net speed going properly again.
The red light, the dreaded red light. People at home can't see it, or wherever you are. You can't see it, but we can see it.
Now, but Joy's point about the auction is valid. it's like, in Hyderabad, after when the traffic lights turned green, and then everybody wanted to move forward, and some people got some space and went, and some people in the big car got left behind. The cycle rickshaw took one corner, the R2 went off in another corner. And I think that's what happens after every auction. And the big guns stayed behind because they were in the limos, you see, figuratively because of their reputation. Yeah. And so suddenly the nimble fellows went ahead. The people with big purse and no retentions are finished 1 and 3.
Yeah.
So I think next year, I won't be surprised at all. Next year, with no disrespect to these 4, and you know what happens when you say with no disrespect, the sentence that follows. But it could be a completely different top 4 next year.
Yeah, it could be. But Joy, if I just look at that table, Bangalore retained 3, didn't they? Or did Bangalore retain 4? They retained 3.
3.
Yeah,
No,
and
3.
even Rajasthan retained 3. Yep. Right?
Bangalore,
they both retained 3.
Bangalore was obviously
Siraj, Virat, and Glenn.
Siraj, Virat,
Glenn Maxwell. And Rajasthan was Butler, Sampson, and Jaiswal.
Yep.
If I remember correctly.
Neither of them.
So there you go. There's something there.
But the funny thing is, of the 3 people that Bangalore retained, one of them scored runs right at the end after suggesting that he was the king at different parts, and the other guy actually got dropped.
True. Yeah, he did. So it's quite interesting. But I mean, when we come to Mumbai, you'll realize the exact impact in numbers of what Joy and Harsha are talking about. But let's start with the table toppers because, geez, what a season they have had. I am talking about GT, which in Hindi is GT is it won, right? That's what it is, GT. They won, and they won 10 out of 14. If they had won one more, this would have been a record, right? It would have, it would have been a record with 11. So this is fantastic. They take this. Look at it. They got 413 runs from Hardik. They got 18 wickets from Rashid. These were their 2 draft picks at most expensive. They retained them at top tier. They were both tied at 15 crores. They both got that. And look at it. They formed the crux of that team. I feel, Harsha, they've not just formed the crux of the team in terms of their performances. I feel they formed the crux of the team in terms of mentality, outlook, temperament.
If you want in a snapshot to see what Gujarat Titans this year, take a look at that graphic again and see what is the quantum of runs that the highest run scorer has made and the number of wickets that the highest wicket taker has taken. And they're nowhere near the top. It tells you that there wasn't one dominant person.
True.
The leading run scorer made 413 and they won 10 games. No one's got 600 there. No one's got 500 there. No one's got 450 plus. 413. No one's got 25 wickets. 18. This team was about everybody joining in and the sum of the parts just turning out to be something else. If anybody tells you that they thought Gujarat Titans are going to finish on top, give them a lie detector test and they will fail before it is administered to them. Nobody. Yep. I didn't expect them to finish in the top 4 because I thought their batting will capsize very early into the tournament. Yeah. But see what happened with their batting. One day Saha scores, suddenly Miller comes back into form, Rashid Khan swings his bat, Tewatia does something. Hardik's role cannot be underestimated. He batted at 4 and held the side in those early games. When Abhinav Manohar comes and wins you a couple of games with late order hitting. Shubman has one patch in between. But that team put together scored enough runs for an outstanding bowling side to take them through.
There you go. I think that was the thing, right? Even at the auction, Joy, when we were talking and we said that maybe their batting doesn't scare anybody, right? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe there's nobody there where you look at and go, God, this wicket, this can change the game. But we always looked at their bowling and said that they had put together a really good bowling side. And that's what is done. Their batting did just enough to make sure that their bowling could just shine like the stars they are.
Absolutely. And not only that, what they got on top of that was that they got man of the matches from everybody. If I remember right, the first 6 man of the matches were from 6 different players. I think all 8 man of the matches, may be totally different. And I think
Shubman got 2, I think.
And Shubman got 2, right. I think they got 7 odd man of the matches that they got. The other interesting thing is we talk about acceleration, runs, okay? Their top order has never been great, okay? And their top order always looked wobbly. But in the death overs, 429 runs from those 3 guys, Miller, Tewatia, Rashid, at a strike rate of 180. So what they did get was terrific finishing. Those 3 guys were like the engine room. and they were finishing matches for you. And Rashid Khan, you've always talked about since your show with him, Gaurav, that Rashid Khan always fancies himself as a batter.
Yeah,
he loves giving him a pat on the shoulder and said, "Go and do it, son. Hey, you saw it. You think you're a batter? Go and win some matches." He won one match for you with the bat. I mean, how often does that happen?
I mean, not only did he say that, I've seen him in the Big Bash, and Harsha, you've seen him as well. He really enjoys his. We enjoy watching his batting. He enjoys batting like a little kid in a candy store.
Everything he does is a little kid in a candy store. He's not grown up yet. Life has just thrown him too many questions, too many situations, but he's not grown up yet. He's just a sentimental young child who plays better than anybody else on the planet at the skill that he's been given. But every one of those was batting one number above where in a good team they should have batted. Every one of those, whether it was Rashid, whether it was Tewatia, whether it was Miller. And of all the shots I saw in this year's tournament, and I've got a partiality for the drives and the pulls, no shot caught my eye more than Rashid Khan's snake shot.
Snake shot.
You remember that?
We
asked him, "Ye kya shot hai?" He said, "That is my snake shot."
Oh, I like that.
And it used to go into the stands.
Yeah.
He's some player. He's some player. I'm telling you, he is some player.
I saw something on, in fact, social media where Virat was talking about how you've got to lean forward to hit that little shot. And then he looks at Rashid and says, but not him. He's on a crazy planet of his own. He can stay on the back foot and rock this shot, really. But that's the kind of guy Rashid is. We must talk about two things I want to talk before moving on to the next team. One is Shami, who was just fantastic up front. That age, absolutely. I mean, standing ovation. We won't because we're all wearing shorts. But standing ovation to this old warhorse who, in a way, Joy has almost reinvented his game to suit T20 because he got all that criticism a few years back, didn't he? Test bowler. Look at him.
Absolutely. And I think two things. One is definitely he's remodeled a bit. He's looked at that slower ball. He's added skills that he can bowl in the final overs. Remember, before this, they'd always try and finish Shami off. They say he's really good in the top. But what is big about him was that economy rate. If you go back to that graphic, I think his economy rate has never been below 7. 6.28 is outstanding. And I think Shami beautifully. He's given him the starting the attack, and he's told him, you go and do what you have to. And of course, the other guy I want to talk about is his Bengal teammate, Riddhiman Shah. 312 runs. 312 runs. Everybody says that he can't bat. He's a brave, courageous guy, but he can't really, muscle it match after match. I mean, what has he done for them at the strike rate? And it's not a really high strike rate, 125. But what he's given them is consistent starts because Matthew Wade didn't come to the party till, still hasn't come to the party if you look at it.
No, hasn't yet.
Yeah, he hasn't yet, but he was fantastic. Pops right up front. And it looked like Harsha, he went and he was like James Bond. He was given a license to kill, right? By the management or by the support staff.
Yeah, because that's the only way he can play. Yeah. And I think you find with this Gujarat Titan side, everybody was allowed to be himself.
Yeah, nice.
I just thought Hardik Pandya batting 3-4. I said, what is this team going to be? And he goes up at 4 and he plays like a number 4 and he finishes. His strike rate this year is what? 125, 130? A couple of years ago, it was 191. He's playing a different role. At no point did Hardik Pandya look like he was out of place batting at number 4. And he got an 80. If you remember early on, he got an 80. He batted well. But I have just one more point before you go ahead on Shami. I think Shami will also slowly dip into his pocket and give a little bakshish, thank you, to all the groundsmen who prepared outstanding pitches for Shami and Umesh to bowl. Because there was a bit of bounce, there was a bit of grass, suddenly Shami and Umesh were the 2015 World Cup. Shami and Umesh opening the bowling, wow, bouncing the West Indies, and I thought I'd never see that in my lifetime. But that first ball, Shami to KL Rahul, remember that? Right at the start of the tournament. So because of the pitches being what they were, and they are the genuine stars of this IPL, the pitches and the people who made them, Shami and Umesh became outstanding bowlers.
Loved it. And
they always were, but
Yeah, just a quick word on, I mean, we were talking about the temperament of the team and just the outlook that they took to the field. And I credited Hardik and Rashid, and, that's the kind of setup that they had. We must really talk about Ashish Nehra and the coaching staff, which is, Gary Kirsten and Vikram Solanki and Ashish Kapoor, and just the people that they had over there. They also got somebody like Mithun Minas in their fold, right? Because that's what you need, Joy. And Joy will tell us, because you've been part of a dugout, how important all these pieces become in controlling almost the on-field, off-field narrative of the team, their temperament, their outlook.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I was exchanging messages with the CEO who used to be from Punjab for a very long time, Arvinder.
With Gujarat now, isn't he?
He's in Gujarat now. And he was saying, of course, he comes from Punjab, so that may not be that difficult. He says, this is the happiest side I've ever been around. And I think it shows on the field. It's the happiest side that you can be around. And see, what's happened is, this is also the batch of 2018, the Challengers RCB batch of 2018. If you look at it carefully, this is
all
the
of them.
entire RCB batch of 2018.
All of them. Yep.
And I think whatever they did, they got them together. Obviously, they realized there's some chemistry between these guys that's already established, which is why they hit the ground running. In year one itself, because they're already in sync, it wasn't difficult for them to work well together, because some of those equations have already been set. And I think they did a phenomenal job. Phenomenal.
They came in as a modular kitchen, in fact. They all kind of came in together, right? It's just kind of plug and play. And I guess what also helps is when the ownership has faith in you.
Who's talking about modular kitchens?
You have no idea. Next time you come here, I'll show you. I'll show you our king of the kitchen.
Last time I came to your place, you did not move from the chair while the food was being served.
That's true. Because I had moved when it was being cooked. You see, I had already prepared for you, sir. I prepped everything.
Anyway, it's a good parallel, actually. It's just that it seemed a bit unusual coming from you, but it's a good parallel.
And also what helps is, I guess, if the ownership gives you then a free hand to say, right, you guys know the job, you do it. And like you're saying, people like, the GM or whoever, and they're just saying, all right, cool, we'll support you. You guys do all of this. I guess it just shows over here, and it's shown. And we'll talk, of course, more about Gujarat as the week goes along, because they're going to be playing the first game. But let's talk about a team that will not be playing any more games. And we have a lot of fans who are tuned in right now and saying, talk about us. Yes, Mumbai. 5 trophies. And yet, at the end of that table, yes, it has been a really, really strange tournament for them. The number of losses, it was a record. It just kept going. You'd think it stopped now. It stopped at 4, it stopped at 5. They've done 5 before. It's fine. Then it became 6. It became 7. And Harsha, I think there was just one time where everybody said, all right, now it's even too late for Mumbai to come back.
And I'm interested that you stopped at 7, because they then surpassed that and lost 8.
Correct.
They lost 8. And I think after a while, they were just done. I think matches 7, 8, that have just sat and said, what's happening? They look back. I think they were the team that suffered from that traffic light thing that I talked about earlier, not knowing what is their best side. Because Kyron Pollard's been a giant for them. Stay with Kyron Pollard. Oh, Tim David, he slogged one. Daniel Sams, he slogged one. Okay, let's put him aside. And then suddenly they discovered at the end of the season that benching Tim David was one of their biggest mistakes. But they have him next year. So it's unusual. Ishan Kishan, they didn't get anything from Ishan Kishan early on. He was just sporadic, and there you go.
See, they've got the runs, but they haven't got the impact, right? That's what we're talking about. They've got the runs, but not the impact.
He's got 418. Ishan Kishan not supposed to score at 120. Ishan Kishan an impact player. So if Ishan Kishan made 350, but at 150, you would have created that impact in that batting side. But you look all around, and I think there's 2 points. One is Bumrah had no support. You look in the previous sides, they had Trent Bolt opening, so allowing Bumrah to bowl at the back. They had one Aussie seamer always backup bowling 4 overs 30. Whether it's Nathan Coulter-Nile, whether it's James Pattinson, then Hardik Pandya will give a little bit, Krunal Pandya will give a little bit, one leggy. So there are 6 bowlers, Kyron Pollard will bowl. So it wasn't all about Bumrah. Bumrah's 15 wickets include a 5-wicket haul. And towards the end of the season, when you unleashed Bumrah with a new ball, he had everybody hopping. And there you saw the wow Bumrah again towards the end, because early on he had no support. But the bigger issue was that the Rohit Sharma of India has not yet turned up for the 4th year in a row, has not turned up for the Mumbai Indians as a batsman. No one's complaining about his captaincy, but as a batsman.
Of course. It gets covered when, obviously, when the team is winning and when they're getting a lot. But just to the point of the auction, let me give some numbers, right? So, Joy, what was it? They with the 4 retained players, right? Then you get Ishan Kishan, which then leaves you with, so the 4 retained players plus Ishan Kishan leave you 32 crores to build the squad. Then you spend
Plus
another
Tim David
16 on.
plus
Then another 16 on
Jofra
Tim
Archer.
David and Jofra Archer. That leaves you with about 17 or 18 crores to get 18 players. You're obviously not going to get, with no disrespect, you're not going to get you can't win an aggressive bidding battle with anybody, basically. Yes, Joy?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, there are a lot of the players that they wanted, they didn't get. They obviously tried to go for Khalil Ahmed, didn't get him. They missed that good Indian fast bowler as well. But the basic question, again, it comes down to there's a great 2002 film, Danny Boyle film called 28 Days Later, which is about, there's a virus which infects all of England and they're only survivors. So 28 days later is exactly the time between...
don't go there. Don't go there.
Tim
Don't go there. I'm still in bubbles.
Okay. Between Tim David's second match and the next time Tim David plays. He plays
Oh,
the 2nd
exactly.
of April, gets dropped. He comes back on the 30th of April. And after that is when they actually have a 50-50 record. It's basically Tim David's absence has made a huge, huge difference. It's just unimaginable how much of an impact it's made. Also, one more thing, that support bowler, Bumrah, Harsha, if you go and look at the stats, Bumrah, they were not bowling him 2 overs in the top 6. Bumrah was essentially, they were too
defensive. They were defensive with him.
Yeah,
they couldn't be attacking because there was no one around.
Yeah, so they
Like a lion in a circus.
And once you said that, okay, we have lost all, now give Bumrah the ball, go and create havoc, he goes and takes 5 wickets. So you can't use a bowler like Bumrah and expect him to be a defensive bowler or to solve all your problems. Because in the beginning, they were just playing him out. Because
Bumrah was always your bowler who would create the problems for the other team. But here they were using him to solve problems of your own team. So there you go. That's how his role changes, doesn't it?
They wanted Bumrah to be everywhere. It's like, I have only one slip. I have one slip, but I have to protect a cordon from first slip to gully. So that one man has to be first and second. I have to go a little this side. Okay, come little this side. Okay, move little that side. They wanted Bumrah to be power play, middle overs, end overs, because every time Rohit looked up, he was looking at Bumrah and he was seeing 1 over shot.
Fair point.
He didn't have that support. They tried Basil Thampi, they tried Jaydev Unadkat, they tried Murugan Ashwin, who to me is the ultimate mystery of the IPL. I look at him and I think he's got everything and he has another ordinary season. So they had no one to replace. So number one on their shopping list will be one Indian fast bowler and one overseas fast bowler. That's number one on their shopping list. Where the money is going to come from, I don't know.
Also interesting thing that they expected Unadkat to really have an impact as if pitches got slower and slower. But they didn't. The groundsmen
didn't get slower. That's right.
Unadkat never got the kind of pitch. And Unadkat at the Wankhede, when he's playing as beautifully as it is, he's going to disappear, They expected a low, slow Katori ball is going to happen 5 matches in to the IPL. They've created such good pitches, none of that happened.
Good things about Mumbai, though, let's take those out for the fans because there have been a few good things. And those predominantly have been the young players who have kind of risen to the top. And you go, all right, there's a good spine here for the future. I'm talking particularly about Devil Brevis. Ritik Shokeen was good. Tim David, of course, has shown us what he's made of. And Tilak Verma. Harsha?
Yes, I think this team is ready. If Jofra Archer can get rid of his injuries, if his back is ready by December, January, if they can get him playing 2 months and come ready by March, then they've got the other bowler that they wanted. But you look at that top 6 again. Rohit has a good year next year. Rohit, Ishan, Sky, Brevis, Tilak Verma, and Tim David. Now that's a top 6. If it's 5, it's a fantastic top 6. Towards the end, Daniel Sams and Ramandeep Singh showed that they can play 2 roles. Actually, Ramandeep can bat at 6 because he seemed a perfectly capable batsman at number 6, and he'll give you 2 overs, so he could do a little bit of what Hardik did.
Yeah.
Then you've got Daniel Sams, and then you pick one Indian fast bowler, one overseas fast bowler, and a wristy. That's what they're shopping for. Otherwise, if Kumar Karthikeya Singh develops, I'm not sure. A lot of people liked him. I wasn't 100% convinced, but their team will become ready.
Yeah. Could they be playing a few strategic tricks next season? It's risky, right? You let go some of your one or two of your expensive buys and say, I'll try to get them back in the auction. But well, I don't know how teams feel about that, Joy, that strategy. It's kind of tricky strategy, isn't it? Slippery slope.
The thing is that releasing players after 3 years is okay because you can't retain them. You can retain only 4 and all that. Releasing them now, expecting to buy back at the auction. See, the only players that you can look at, I think the only one question they have to consider is, I would release Riley Meredith and maybe find somebody who's a little bit more suitable. I mean, release Jaydev Unadkat, look for that Indian fast bowler. I'm sure that you're going to get somebody or the other. And so many bowlers have emerged. I think you will get another good prospect. The Mumbai scouting system is too good for them not to get this right again. The big one, which Harsha you're talking about, is spinner. That spinner is what I feel that if tomorrow, next year, you have a tournament which is going to be played around the country, which hopefully it will be, all things said and done, then you will need, if you go to a Chennai or if you go to the other grounds, you will need a slightly more evolved spin attack. Right now, it doesn't look the part.
Final question before we move on to the next team, right? Kieron Pollard, Mumbai. Yes? No? Maybe?
If you go to Kieron Pollard's house, I think you'll see a Mumbai Indians cutout. And Kieron Pollard's the kind of person you cut, he bleeds Mumbai Indians. That is the association between Kieron Pollard and Mumbai Indians. It's lasted 12 years, I think, now.
Yeah.
But it won't surprise me. Beckham and United finished. You get these great combinations. They get over.
True.
I won't be surprised if it gets over next year because they desperately need to release funds. It's like in the Premiership. I don't want to let go of somebody, but I want somebody. So I have to let go. So I think if you look at who they can let go, can they let go Ishan Kishan for 16? Where's the wicketkeeper going around? So who is the person who's easiest to let go? And it'll be a sad day because Malinga and Pollard have been the two standout overseas players that Mumbai Indians have had over the years. But I fear that might happen.
Joy, hashtag feels? Feels? Yes, no, maybe.
I think they probably, in the relationship he has with the management, the ownership, they'll probably have a talk with him and bring him back into coaching, he's always be a part of the family. But they'll probably look at him and say that for our own sake and for the sake of this Mumbai Indians team that you've loved so much, perhaps you've got to do it in some other way. I want to tell you one more interesting thing. We are talking about this MI side saying that they've had a terrible season and all that. It's totally unexpected. Do remember they didn't qualify the year before as well.
Yeah.
So you have some basic structural issues that you need to sort out. And I think even last year there were a few issues out there. And again, it was that 5, 6, 7 not firing, Hardik not bowling, Pollard not, that engine room not working was what their problem was. And I think those are issues that keep coming up. It's not as if this is just 1 year in which they failed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. We move to Rajasthan now. Rajasthan, who's qualified at number 2. So they're going to play the first qualifier. And there you go. Yeah, they've got the purple and the orange cap. Jos Buttler and Yuzvendra Chahal. And having both in the same season is like catching lightning in a bottle. Abhimanyu wrote that line. Well done, buddy. I like it. That's a good line. I like it. Yeah, it's like catching lightning in a bottle. Good one. It's only ever happened twice before. So Hyderabad did it in 2017 with Warner and Bhuvi, and Chennai in 2013 with Hussey and Bravo. That's Mike, not Dave, and Bravo. That's Dwayne, not Darren. So I don't know why I said that. I just felt like. But yeah, this happening for them.
Way of saying I know.
Yeah, it's this is what in the Hindi show we like to call Harsha badi uplabdhi.
Bahut badi. I'll tell you is Gaurav, you have all your skills, but being very subtle and tossing things around may not be your number one skill.
I'm as subtle as Thor's hammer. Boom! Yeah, but look at these two. These two have not been subtle. Huh? Jos Buttler and Chahal. They've been as subtle as Thor's hammer.
I think they've just had outstanding seasons. I think Butler's gone a bit off the boil, but see, Buttler has done his job. He's again, and talk about the 629 runs. What is really interesting is compare this with Ishan Kishan's 400 odd runs. What he's done, yes, in the last 7 innings, he's not got runs at all. But when he's got runs, they are rounds that are counted. He's won matches.
Won the big game.
And that's the big thing. Impact runs that we talk about. See, what's happened in a lot of players. I mean, Ishant Kishan, 418 runs is not bad. But which of those innings was a match-winning innings or even a match-defining innings? Was he even the second best player? Whereas when Joss Butler got it right, his team won. And I think that's what's the most important thing. He made a difference exactly the same with Chahal. With Chahal in that match against Kolkata, he just took them apart. That one over changed the tournament. So that's what I'm saying. The kind of impact that you get, they are giving you in single matches. And that's why I often believe that stats are, these kind of stats like total runs or averages are very often misleading.
Can I just add one thing to it? Because we were talking about Bumrah, Harsha, and that Bumrah didn't have much support. We talk about Chahal, we have to talk about Ashwin, because look at the support he's had. I mean, the two of them together.
Yes. And you've got to talk about Trent Bolt. Didn't fire in every game, but there was the odd game he was giving you wickets in the power play. You've got to talk about Prasidh Krishna, who bowled really well up front. One player who didn't end the season for them was Kuldeep Sen. In my book, he's one of the finds of the season. Kuldeep Sen bowling those wide Yorkers. He won them a match in the last over. And they have found, I think, someone who will stand them in very good stead in the next two games. That's Ubaid McCoy. If he can keep his fitness. So you're absolutely right. There's Chahal, but around Chahal, everybody's contributing. And that is why this is bowling side that's done so well. What about around Joss Butler? Sanju Samson got close to 400. Yashasvi Jaiswal's comeback is firing at the top. Shimron Hetmeyer, who's inspiring Joy to have another haircut. Shimron Hetmeyer has finished how many games for them? Ravichandran comes in. So
just on Hetmeyer, I just want to say about Hetmeyer, because Hetmeyer was another decision that was kind of, but everybody went after Rajasthan saying, oh, he's not fit for West Indies, he doesn't play, how are they backing him so much, aggressive talent. He's really paid that faith back. Just look at what he's done in the death overs. He's just been absolutely fantastic. You look at him and you say, oh, he's a little portly perhaps. Yeah, the middle overs are burgeoning a bit over there, but when he has to get the job done in the end, geez, he doesn't lose his shape. Joy, looks fantastic hitting the long ball.
I think he was absolutely outstanding, because see, my belief is that's what they got very well out of. He's a finisher. He proved to give them that finishing touch. Also, how many years are you going to have a situation, or how often would you believe that Ashwin will win a man of the match effectively for batting in a match, which is what he did. That 14, 23 balls is a match-winning effort. So they got, when Hetmeyer was not there, so many other people put up their hands and said, we also want to contribute. We're going to give you something. And I think, again, this is, whether it's Sangakkara coming in, the way this looks like a dressing room that's fairly united. It looks, again, the appearance is that of guys who are relaxed around each other, and all these make a huge difference. Remember, somebody like Ashwin is a difficult person in the dressing room, because he's very demanding. Not demanding necessarily because he needs a lot of things, but because he pushes for things. He wants to bat. He wants to make a difference. He wants his team to win very badly. And there are two ways. You can either react against him, or you can say, this guy really wants to win. Let's listen to what he's saying. And I believe he put his hand up and said, give me a chance with the bat. I think I can do a bit more for you. And that's a huge.
I'll tell you what he gave them, Joy. I'll tell you what he gave them. If you had slotted Ashwin as a traditional number 7 big hitter, by the way, Ashwin's gone back. He's done a lot of work. Ashwin is one of those front benchers who always do his homework and come. Always does his homework. Engineering or bhi hai who are not like him. No, but Ashwin realized, if I want a future in T20 cricket, I cannot be a single skill. I've got to hit the big shots. How many sixes did he hit this year? Which is fantastic. But if they wanted to lengthen the tail, if they said, okay, I want Riyan Parag and Shimron Hetmeyer to bat the last 5-6 overs, what do? I use Ashwin as a proper batsman, which is perfectly capable of being, and I will move him up some days at 5, some days at 3, but I will do that to lengthen the batting and get my finishers in the position that they need to be. Offered to be retired out, as some people once said, the umpires quickly turned to Ashwin and said, out. I think they use Ashwin fantastic. Actually, it's a good point. Must ask him whether this is the happiest he's been after CSK.
Yeah, fair point. Quick word though. Quick word on Sanju Samson as the captain. I think how you remember small incidents, which kind of tell you, small incidents always give you big insights into people. And just like we spoke about that Gujarat kind of misfielding with Rashid and him and Hardik having a big laugh about that on the field, that it was so comical. I think what Sanju did in that famous last over, that no ball, no call, that happened against Delhi, and how he just, walked up to the bowler and just kind of calmed everything down. And how he spoke later to you guys as well, where he said, just smiling, said, I just thought it's a good chance to talk to the bowler and tell him just relax and calm down. I feel like, Harsha, that brings a lot, and you must have seen it a lot on the field. I'm a big fan of Sanju's kind of temperament and how he runs. A lot of times he gets criticized for not kind of being, that kind of captain. But there is also this kind of captain.
Look, I think he's one of the players, him, Sky, all these guys, they just get T20 cricket. And he says, look, T20 is about following your instinct. Some days it comes right, some days it won't. That's just the nature of the beast. It's like a football manager. Some days my formations will work, some days it won't. Actually, I keep coming back to football with T20 because that's the closest cricket will ever get to football. But he's okay for some days for the instinct to be wrong. And I think the fact that he took a wounded Chahal, I don't know, but Rajasthan Royals took a wounded Chahal and made him the number one bowler again and got him bowling like that. He was wounded. Make no mistake, he was wounded. Out of India, that happens. Out of RCB, he was hurt. And then they took that and made Ashwin and Chahal into a formidable force. There's got to be something right over there. You're right. It seems like Gujarat Titans. It just seems a calm place.
Yeah. And a calm place that didn't do too many tricks, right? They did the right number of tricks, Joy, because every year we criticize them. And they're getting too tricksy. This is just, you're being unnecessarily cute now with, just the innovations. This time, I think it was kind of just right. And it shows. They're number 2 on the points table.
Yeah. And the way they did, 2 things they did. One, I thought brilliantly was the fact that Sanju Samson is one of the best strikers of the ball. But he was quite happy to take over a secondary role when Jos Buttler was in form. So I think that tells you something. He got a lot of 40, 38 in 20 balls, 14, 20 balls, where Jos is going at the other end. He's giving
not bad for a secondary role, huh? 150 strike rate.
He's the kind of player who always, but look at that highest. The highest is 55. He got a lot of 30s, 40s, and 50s because Jos Buttler was doing so well up front. He knew, and he gave him the strike. And for a guy like Sanju Samson, who's such a good striker himself, to give the strike shows a level of maturity that's quite outstanding. I think that is one thing that I really noticed on the field, and it really showed you what kind of a team that they're putting up there. I think.
All right, captaincy issues. We got to go with that's just 3 teams. We've got 7.
So last one that I think sometimes we get intoxicated, we get hypnotized by the number of runs people have made. And we don't realize that when, as Joy said, when one player is going well, a 30 of 20 balls is a fantastic innings because it's kept the innings forward in a partnership of 50, which is often about 1/3 the runs, or maybe about 28-30% of the runs. And I think Sanju did that very often.
Impact and context to all the numbers. I think with every game.
Absolutely. And we sometimes get intoxicated by number of runs. The strike rate is such a big factor. Your number 2 batsman is striking at 147.
Let's quickly go to Chennai because we got some fans, and the fans are saying, "What's up? It's 40 minutes and our team's not. It's here. There it is. It's Chennai." There was 2 of them, wasn't it? There was 2 Chennais. There was the first Chennai that had 1 captain, and then there was the second Chennai that had the old captain. And, we just know that the second Chennai worked, and the cracks from the first half Chennai, Joy, are kind of showing, right? And there's a lot of light coming through, which has never really happened with Chennai, because they would have the curtains to the inner sanctum pulled real tight.
You say that, but remember, they've also had one horror season before this. The time that they completely went down, it happened 2 years before. After that, they bounced back and they win a championship. But the cracks were there. The cracks were there, but somehow he gets it all together to make a championship team. They win it. Look again what happens the next season. One is captaincy. The other is, let's face it, Chennai live and die with their top order scoring runs. And Rituraj was very inconsistent. Robin gave them nothing up front. It's only after Devon Conway comes and starts playing consistently up front Do they start getting something? Rituraj gets into some sort of form. So that's one thing that really suffered. Chennai's, that's their team. They score up front, Raidu gives you runs, a little bit of an explosion at the end with Jadeja and co, and then the bowlers basically strangle. And they've never had the greatest bowling attack, but they have the bowling attack normally defend with, this defensive wickets. I mean, guys like Bravo and all are not going to prize out wickets. They're going to get it because you're trying to smash them all over the place. And if you don't get the runs, bowlers like Bravo and all are not that effective. So a whole series of things went wrong for them. But none of this is unexpected beyond the fact that Jadeja just did not perform as a player as well.
True, but just the impact on Ravindra Jadeja, the player, after what has gone down this season, Harsha?
He has every right to be miffed. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know what the thinking was all along, but I don't think, even though MS normally gets it absolutely right, I'm not sure it was very well handled. I don't know how Jadeja's thinking about it now. CSK is, of all the franchises, CSK is a family. More than any other franchise. Everyone talks about a family. So whether they will have Jadeja back with them next year, I will want to wait and see. I think they should, but their issues go beyond Jadeja. I think the whole Jadeja captaincy issue did impact the top half completely, but I think the issues go beyond Jadeja. Dwayne Bravo cannot be, at this stage in his career, their number one wicket taker, but the green shoots came at the end.
Yeah.
The green shoots came with Mukesh Chaudhary and Simarjeet Singh, both very impressive. We talk about Mukesh Chaudhary, Simarjeet Singh was very impressive too. I thought the green shoots came at the end. Ruturaj Gaikwad a little bit. Devon Conway will be a long-term candidate, but do they have replacements for Uttapa, for Raidu? They need to for Jagadisan. Jagadisan not going to be their big middle order player on the evidence of what we've seen. They really need to get somebody in that middle order to get things going, because you've got Dhoni will fire 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Actually, Dhoni batted better this year than he did in the previous 2 years. But
True.
Who is that young player in between who is saying, I am your future batsman? And I think we talked about MI shopping list. I think CSK will have a shopping list.
Well, I mean, their problems that they've had this season will probably deserve an entire show of its own, because that's just the kind of season that they've had. But I think, Joy, their fans are still hoping, just as you mentioned, that in 20 they had that dismal season completely written off. 21 they come back and win. 22 they've had this dismal season. Can they do it in 23? Nah, there's too many questions to answer.
think there are too many questions. In fact, I mean, you look at it, their best player really was a player they should have used better. And I think they should have given a standard, which was Moeen Ali for me. I mean, he doesn't show up in the stats, but 244 runs at 137.
That last knock, jeez.
Yes, 8 wickets at 6.62. He is their impact player. At this point in time, the two real impact players, it's him, it's Devon Conway. Rituraj just has to get a little bit more consistent. He's got a lot of runs. Again, he keeps ending up scoring the runs, but he doesn't give you the kind of consistency they've been used to as a team. And my other problem is that, if Jadeja's future, I don't know where it is, they've got young Indian pacers now, do they need another? Shivam Dubey has not done it for them. It was the all-rounder. They felt that maybe Dhoni's touch on his shoulder will just make him into the kind of player. The Dhoni magic will work. It hasn't totally worked. He's shown signs, but he hasn't been that player that they were looking for, because they paid quite a bit of money for him.
Yeah, there's big questions for Chennai, as I said. All right, let's move on to the new team that's qualified as well. They were so close to being in the top 2, and Rajasthan just pipped them to the post right at the end. We saw KL Rahul, a captain who seemed a little out of his depth in the previous season. He's playing for another team. And then he comes to this team with a completely different setup. And we keep talking about the atmosphere, the off-field kind of temperament of a team, just the kind of attitude that they have, being a happy place. And look what happened to him this time, didn't it, Harsha? It kind of showed the difference was stark between last year and this year.
537. We use the word bank as often as we use the word momentum. So maybe one day we'll have to stop using the word bank.
Yeah.
But that is exactly what KL Rahul is. You know what you're going to get from KL Rahul, and you get it. I'm happy that the strike rate started to go up. It was a very defensive thing to say strike rate doesn't count. Of course it does. But I'm happy that it's come up again. And KL Rahul and Quinton de Kock were the best openers of the competition. Therein lies the story of LSG. What if they do well and what if they don't do well? If Quinton de Kock and KL Rahul are doing well, it's a different side completely. If Quinton de Kock and KL Rahul get out early, who is the circuit breaker over there? Occasionally it's Huda.
Yeah.
But suddenly you look and say, okay, who's the middle? And the one question I want to ask LSG is, are they on their way up or have they peaked and has their season plateaued? That's the only thing I want to ask. Because I think if you look on paper, it's a beautifully constructed side. Mohsin Khan, everybody's fallen in love with Mohsin Khan. Avesh Khan is saying, Sir, मैं भी हूँ, नए बच्चे नहीं है, मैं भी हूँ. Dushmanta Chamira, they haven't used Marcus Stoinis well enough. Luckily for them, Bishnoy is starting to come back. It's a very well constructed side.
Yeah.
The question on the big day, who's saying, come guys, it's a knockout game? Me.
It's such a valid point because in terms of batting, it's so different from Gujarat where everybody's kind of stepped up on one day and said, we'll do it. Here, joy for them. It almost reminds me of, if you remember the 2015 final where as soon as Mitchell Starc got Brendan McCullum, you're like, okay, that's it. That's Australia's game, right? The minute you got that, just similarly, you look at any team that's playing them, and that's going to be Bangalore. Bangalore's going to be saying, all right, we've got this locked. We need to get the openers in the power play.
Yeah, look, I think there are two players that they were missing, the number 3, and they tried 2 people there, which didn't work. One was, of course, Manish Pandey. And Manish Pandey just didn't turn up this season. Yeah. Deepak Hooda has, remember, got 400 runs for them. But again, Deepak Hooda has not made the kind of match-winning contributions. I think he's got a couple of good innings, but the rest of it doesn't. Manish Pandey and even Lewis are the 2 players that they were missing this year. And Lewis has a chance to come back. Lewis, I think they're going to starting to play him again because they realize they need somebody in that top 3. He's just taken a terrific catch for them. Can he do more? I think that's what they need. They need that number 3. And I think they've done Manish Pandey. They've given him enough chances. I think they're going to move to Lewis and see where he goes with that.
Yeah, Mohsin. You've loved Mohsin, haven't you, Harsha?
Everybody has. Everybody has loved Mohsin. Not just because I think he's a little ahead of Mukesh Chaudhary at this stage. Mukesh Chaudhary's got that lovely swing. He's a power play bowler. But you can throw the ball to Mohsin anytime. You're a nice, big build fellow. You're not the quickest in the world. He won't set the speed guns rolling all over. But 8 matches, economy 5.93. The captain looks at him and he sees a willing guy coming to bowl anytime. But he didn't start off being the lead bowler. So you see what happens at the moment now is they've got Mohsin and Chamira. I mean, they've got to choose between Evan Lewis and Chamira. They can't play both, but one of them. If they start with Chamira and Mohsin, there's decent pace there. Avesh Khan follows very decent pace. Then they can slip Holder in. The key will be, depending on the tracks in Kolkata, if the tracks are a little slow, can Krunal Pandya and Ravi Bishnoi be their bowlers? I've got to be careful actually when I do this and this because of that great story, I bowl off breaks and I bowl leg breaks. You remember that? But I don't have the beard for it, so it's okay. Forget that. So and Krunal Pandya's there but not quite, he needs a breakout game.
Yep. So, it is very heavily dependent on the top 2. But of course, the bowling that has given them a lot of options. They've got everything. They've got all the options, and the captains use them. So it's a side that Gautam Gambhir wanted to construct with all-rounders, with lots of options, batters and bowlers. He's done that. But in all of that, they need that middle order to they need the top order to have more faith in the middle order. That will only come when somebody has a breakout game, and they'll need to do it because, they are now playing an eliminator. That's what they'll be playing. All right. Let's go to the other fan favorite team. They did it. Yes, Bangalore. They had their best friends. You know how Joy and Harsha, I'm sure you both have done it because, I never went to school or college. At least not. But apparently you can get your best friend to do proxy for you.
In front of everybody.
It's true though. I mean, it's a known fact, right? But anyway, doesn't surprise anyone. But you get your best friend to do proxy attendance. He goes and sometimes they'll write a paper or they'll pay. That's what Bangalore did with their new best friends, Mumbai. They sent them in. They said, defeat Delhi for us to qualify. We're going to be sitting in our hotel on our bean bags, chewing our fingers. Do this for us. And Joy, that's That's what friends are for.
Yeah, not only friends are for. Just go back in the history of the IPL and check the tournament for a situation where a team is 8-6 and their net run rate is minus 0.253.
That's because that's Bangalore. When they lose big.
They lose big.
Jeez.
Really big.
Wow, yeah. When they have a bad day, they really have a bad day, Harsha. They've really got to figure this out. But again, we've spoken about them a bit in terms of what they corrected. They figured out what they needed correcting from the previous seasons to now. They corrected them. They were heavy on, just like we spoke about Lucknow, they were heavy on two people scoring. Right? It was always Virat and AB show. They said, all right, let's get some of the others to perform. They got everybody else to perform. They said, let's, strengthen our bowling. They managed to strengthen their bowling. But then this time, the big guns, which is Faf and Virat and Glenn Maxwell, just didn't show up.
Yeah, I mean, Faf's got 440 runs. He had a 90 and an 80 early on. But down that list, Rajat Patidar, in his first 5 games, made 150. Mahipal Lomror, in 1 or 2 games, came and did it. But forget what's happened with RCB now. I'm LSG. I'm looking at RCB, and I'm counting all the match winners in that RCB side. People who are experienced on the big day of thinking, oh, kya karega ye? And I'm thinking, Faf du Plessis, last year's final, if you remember, Chennai winning last year's final, Faf makes a big score. Virat Kohli, is this the return of Virat Kohli? Oh my God, he'll win matches on his own. DK, Maxwell, he bats 20 balls in a knockout game. I don't know what's happening. One into Hasaranga, there's a slightly slowish pitch. I don't know if can Hazelwood get it in. That team is littered with match winners, and their biggest force, if you put that slide up, third column, third from bottom. Third column, third from bottom.
Kan Sharma, that's right. That is right. He has been, and that was the joy factor question, if you remember a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And which was that he's been part of, 3 in a row?
Consecutive, 3 in a row for 3 different teams.
3 in a row for 3 different teams.
And 21 last year.
Yeah, last year he was with Chennai. And this year he's with Bangalore. Come on, we all need a good luck charm every now and then, don't we? And they've got it. They've got things working for them. And they're coming into this joy on the back of kind of more wins than losses, right? So I really feel like there's this kind of wave. There's this little wave that's crest. And they're the surfers are going to ride this. I don't know. Just I've got a feeling. I got a feeling. I'm high on believing.
Look, the other thing is that Siraj has been misfiring a lot. But Siraj, I think in a big match day, they will play Siraj, and you take Siraj. People like Siraj and Hazelwood make for a really potent attack because that's the kind of bowling that you have. And I think that's one thing that they've done really well. They've had a couple of guys. See, they've got some nuts and bolts cricketer also there. Shahbaz Ahmed in the middle, uncomplainingly feels like a god. Gives you 15, 20, 25 runs and also turns around and bowls you, gives you 2-3 overs. And that's what's allowed them to get the kind of balance. So Shahbaz and Maxwell bowling. And Bangalore, if you look at it, traditionally has never been big on all-rounders because they've had gun batsmen who scored a lot of runs and then they've had bowlers who go for a lot of runs. They've never had all-rounders. This time, they actually have 2 or 3 all-rounders in the middle. That's what's giving them real depth. And that's why, and Harsha's point is absolutely taken. It doesn't matter one jot what was there before this. Match winners are match winners. It's like old war horses. You wake them up, they smell this thing on the big day. One of them gets going, it's over.
Yeah, that's right. They've got the engines, right? They've got the engines. As soon as they get a bit of open road, you know that the engine can open and get you 200 kilometers per hour. So that's
just pretend, Gaurav. Just pretend that you are LSG and you're watching MI versus DC. You don't have a stake because you've qualified, but you're watching MI versus DC because you've determined who you are going to play.
Yeah.
Who do you want to play? Would you rather play DC or would you rather play RCB in a knockout?
Good point. DC's got the match winners as well. So it's a tough call, but yes. But if you look at from how, like, for example, while watching the DC game, you just figured the last game they were playing against MI, they were doing things that were not showing a lot of confidence. You always want to play a team that's not showing you that confidence. Whereas Bangalore in the last couple of games just showed you some confidence. And then just Virat coming in and punching the air and bringing all his imaginary friends and talking to them and shouting at them. You're just like, I don't know if I want to play this guy in this mood, right? And that's what happens. So to your point, yes, you're looking at this team and saying, oops, this looks like fun. just the last point before we move on to the next team for Bangalore. Our brother, co-conspirator on Cricbuzz Live, Dinesh Karthik, DK, has graduated. We've been talking about that. Look at him. Comeback number 25? I don't know. Just the comeback king. He's the comeback kid. Joy, that's it. We call him the comeback kid from now.
Absolutely. I mean, this outstanding season, and DK has this thing every 4-5 years he'll give you. Like, you remember the other outstanding season he had was in 2018 when he just became captain of Kolkata. And if you remember, he finished again 5 or 6 games for them, took them right up to this, playoffs. 2013, he was the number 3 batsman for Mumbai and a gun Mumbai side. So he does it every once in a while, but he's like aging like fine wine. More importantly, he's enjoying this now. Hey, an old man can make a run for it. I'm still, that boarding pass to Australia still might be in my name. I'm back in Indian team contention. You can make out the enjoyment that he's having in the game, and that's so fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good guy. We want to see him play. Will he play? He's in the squad for the 5 T20s against South Africa. Will he get a chance to play? Well, we'd love to see that. But again, another dangerous guy in the playoffs, because as you can see, he's checked in more than he's checked out in this tournament. So yeah, that's another one that Lucknow will be looking at.
Yeah, can you imagine Lucknow have RCB 4-5 down, 40 to get in 19 balls.
Yeah.
DK is batting. Can you breathe free?
No.
Can you think ban kya ye? No, you can't.
Nope, you can't. Let's talk about the team that they pipped to the post, or rather got their buddies, Mumbai, to pip to the post to get that 4th qualifying spot. Talking about the Delhi team. Jeez, man, there's a movie in there with the plot twist, yeah? With what has happened to Delhi.
There's a movie. There's also an Enid Blyton novel. You remember those Enid Blyton that you used to read, mysteries and all that? So there was one called...
Are you talking to me or are you talking to Gaurav?
Enid Blyton is me. That's me. Famous wife.
Okay.
It was called The Mystery of the Missing Captain. Okay.
Oh.
And I think that's a bit of what happened to Delhi this year.
Yeah. Could be, perhaps, yes. That's right. He has had a season he would like to forget in terms of a few performances, a few decisions on field and off field kind of decisions. And the fact that it just kept saying that the captaincy was perhaps weighing so heavily on his shoulders that he just lost his shape as a batter. Literally lost his shape as a batter, Harsha.
Yeah. I mean, he scored at 31 at a strike rate of 151, 152. Someone coming at 4-5 gives you that. Most days you're very, very happy. I think, and listen, I don't know if what I'm saying is right or wrong, but I think Rishabh Pant so badly wants to be captain. I think he so badly wants to be a very good captain that I suspect it's weighing him down. I saw the body language in that game against MI from the captain. And I think he should also know that in every game, there's a captain cam. There's a camera that's always on the captain. And he was looking, it didn't look great. He didn't look like he was in control. And Ricky Ponting was Aussie, right? He'll come and talk like an Aussie. He said some of the tactical decisions at the end were not great, but Rishabh should still be captain. But I think we've discovered that Rishabh is a captain who's work in progress. He might still make a very good captain, but you've got to ask if Rishabh the captain comes along with Rishabh the batsman, who's a generational player. Rishabh the batsman is a fabulous, rare player. And now you've got to just measure off and ask Rishabh, can you just chill a little bit as a captain and keep doing that? Don't get burdened. I saw him sometimes at post-match and one day he said, yaar, gayi na, that kind at the end of the post-match.
Yeah.
You cannot, So we've got to ask ourselves, in searching for Rishabh Pant, the captain, we should not end up losing a phenomenal player.
Yeah, Joe, it's such a good point, because sometimes you can want something so hard that you clutch it enough to just kind of suck the joy out of it.
Yeah, and look, again,
suck the joy out of suck the joy!
There you go. I was hoping somebody would pick that up.
40 runs at 150, but what's his highest score? His highest score is 44.
So the impact again, he's not won. I think he's not won a player of the match since 2019.
So 44.
Since 2019.
Yeah. So that's my one point, that he's still a terrific player, but is he batting in the wrong position? Is he scoring that 70, 80, 90 that changes the game? Because now Rishabh Pant with this current Delhi batting order needs to do that. Previously they had other batsmen. There was a Shreyas Iyer out there as well. There were other players that there. Now the responsibility is squarely on his shoulders. If he's going to go and bat at 4, he has got to do it for them. And that's what I'm saying. A year where Riyan Parag has a higher single score than Rishabh Pant is a year that you want to forget if you're Rishabh Pant, even if you've scored 340 runs.
But that RP, the other RP you're talking about, is actually got the safest pair of hands that you can see amongst Indian fielders. He really does.
Best moves after taking it. And the best moves after taking the catch.
I enjoy it. Yes, I enjoy it completely.
He's just got to be a little careful.
Rishabh will rue the fact that there was a dropped catch that he had as well, and there was a catch he made that they didn't review. So there was just all things that went wrong. I think that last kind of game was perhaps a little snapshot, if you just a summary of kind of what happened to Delhi, because it's so frustrating, Harsha. You look at that team. There's match winner after match winner in that team.
Terrific team.
Yet they're not winning the matches.
You look at what happened to Delhi this year. David Warner came late, but when they bought him, they knew he was going to come late. So you can't say, oh my God, he came late. David Warner came late. Mitch Marsh came late, got injured, came back, got COVID, came back. So we never saw the best of Mitch Marsh. So that happened. Then there was a little COVID scare in between. There was an injury scare in between. Heinrich Nokia is their big retained match winner. He only came in after 8 or 9 games. So that game was a very unsettled side. It was almost as if you've come for dinner and you don't know who's going to be at the table. Mere dost rehne wale hain ya koi aur, someone else come back. And I think they never really settled down as a side, because any team that has a batting lineup of David Warner, Prithvi Shaw, Mitch Marsh, Rishabh Pant, Rohman Powell. I also think they went too far with Lalit Yadav. Lalit Yadav was a 150, 160 strike rate domestic player, scoring at 103, 104. They thought he was a bit of everything, but he was not enough of anything. But now that Mitch Marsh was bowling, they came with Sarfaraz at the end, which was probably the best side that they should have played. But they look back and say, if we had everybody playing together, could it have been different? Maybe. But that is how this IPL is.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
That's right. You've got to.
Also one more thing. They've got very subpar seasons from 2 of the players that they really needed. 3 actually. If you look at it, Nokia, Akshar Patel. Akshar Patel normally is a banker every year. He just comes and gives you. Akshar Patel has given you 6 wickets. And that's something that they're not used to. Akshar Patel comes and knocks them over. Akshar Patel gives you an economy rate that you always is outstanding. Akshar Patel hasn't given you anything. Nokia was injured. Then what happened? We don't know. He never got his rhythm. He never looked the bowler that got 22 wickets. And then the third whammy is Shardul was inconsistent. So while he's done well in 1 or 2 matches, he really hasn't given you that consistent sort of lower order batsman, all-rounder, bowling all-rounder, batting at 7, giving you some overs. He's not given that to you. So those 3 guys, if they fire, Rishabh Pant has a decent season. So if you're the Delhi Capitals and you look at it, you actually can turn around and say, what do you need to change in next season? Nothing. Get everybody healthy, get everybody on time.
Just let the captain be lighter. That's it. Just let him be lighter. Tell him not to worry too much. And the last point on Delhi, which deserves talking about, just like Rajasthan took the wounded bird Chehal, his partner in Kulcha was taken by Delhi, and the wounded bird was kind of given wings, right?
And 21 is fantastic. I mean, he had 2 or 3 off days with a wrist spinner. If you have 2 or 3 off days, you're absolutely fine with it. Then that's why the economy went up to 8.4, because when he had a bad day, he traveled for a lot of runs. But the Kuldeep that I saw bowling in this year's IPL is the best I have seen for a very, very long time, because he had got the bite back into his bowling. Actually, to be fair, the bite was never there. He used to beat people in the air, and because they couldn't pick the wronger and the one that was coming in. Now I think he's become stronger. And we talked ad infinitum about his speed going up from an average of 78, 79 to an average of 83, 84, 85. And he's got the strength to be able to bowl 84, 85. He's a different bowler at 84, 85. So, the rebirth of Kuldeep, and the fact that David Warner, when he's 55 years old, will still come and give you 500 runs.
That's true. He just does that. He's kind of the glue that holds it all together. But let's talk about the team that hurt Kuldeep. We're talking about the Knight Riders. Joy will now tell us that he's going to be. Oh, that's right. Oh, wait. Let's just sit back. I've got my cup of tea as well, And Joy will now
I
tell us.
I just want to tell you one
Cutting
thing.
chai.
This year, the Knight Riders have been the most democratic team in the league.
Okay.
They've got
They played
25,
everyone.
26 players. They managed to play 21 of them.
Yeah.
21
That's
players.
it. Seemed like they played everybody. No, they did. There's still some guys left out.
Yeah,
Okay.
there are a few guys left out, but they got very close. I think that was the one thing. This side just kept, injury might have had some part to play in it, but you have to say the biggest problem that Kolkata had was chopping, changing. They never had a settled outfit. They just never had a settled outfit. And it's a pity because, again, this is a team with a lot of match winners. And one of the things that really they should have capitalized on the fact that Sunil Narayan has had a vintage season. It's a season like 2012 or 14. Economy rate of 5.57 in this tournament when you're playing 14 matches is absolutely outstanding. He was just superb. Varun Chakravarti was off, but what Sunil Narayan has done, what Andre Russell has given them, these guys should have ended up higher. They should have ended up
This point of playing so many games, of making so many changes, the real interesting thing about that is if you make so many changes and you reach somewhere in the end which is completely different from where you started, you say you're evolving. But if you pretty much come back to where you started, you're just thinking, what? That was a really long route to take to get back to where I started from. Because their last 11 just had 2 changes from their first 11, which was Rinku in for Mavi and Tomar in for Rahane, and Rahane was injured anyway. So actually, it's just kind of one change, right? That you're thinking, which is Rinku, who you were not playing, who was fantastic towards the end, almost won them that game, the last game, if it wasn't for that Lewis-inspired catch in the end. But that's what they did. And sorry, Harsha, you were, I think, talking about Narayan and Russell.
Narayan is we talk about goats a lot. Narayan is not just a goat. Narayan is the entire farm.
That's right.
Sunil Narayan.
Before people think you're calling him Bakri, it's greatest of all time. That's goat. Just for all those of you who are not millennials like us. Yeah, greatest of all time.
Every year we think, Sunil Narayan is past it maybe. And year upon year, he delivers. He's the postman. If there are
he's the postman.
All you guys from your parents' age like mine, when there's your postman delivering admission letters to you and you waited for him to come. But Sunil Narayan, Andre Russell, they are just outstanding players. Now see the structure of their side. They've got Cummins or Southee. That's 3 places filled. Yeah. Now where is their other overseas player that they wanted to play? They needed an opener. I think their best team was to play Southee and Cummins both together, and that would have changed their bowling lineup completely. But because they didn't buy a keeper, they used 3 different wicket keepers and never discovered at the end of the season there's no visor to knowing who their keeper is.
Yeah,
and that was the one structural defect. Sometimes you say ghar pura theek bana hai, udhar pillar thoda weak tha ek.
Yeah,
wicket keeper is not a key whatever, but that was a little structural defect that caused all the turmoil. Should I play Jackson? But where do I play Jackson? Okay, let me play Billings. But where do I play Billings? But if I play Billings, I can't play somebody else. Oh, okay. What do I do now? Then where do I play Venkatesh Iyer? And because of that, that started the turmoil, I think, in that KKR side. They've also got to look back and say, is Nitish Rana my match winner at number 4? Or is he going to be someone who'll go through a season, he'll have done okay, but at the end of the season, you say, Acha, was he there?
Yeah.
He's maybe made 300 runs, 350 runs, but was he there? I'm more impressed with Rinku Singh.
Yeah.
He's hungry. There's something about Rinku Singh. He's always 7, 8 plus, 10 plus in the field. But if Rinku Singh can become that number 5 for them on a regular basis with Russell at 6, then those are the green shoots that we talked about with Mumbai. I think those are the green shoots with KKR. They've got to figure out what Venkatesh Iyer's role is. And I have a lot of time for Varun Chakravarti, but they've got to figure out whether he's got more in those legs.
Yeah, well, literally. Joy, if we just talk about a quick word on Andre Russell, because this guy was just, he was all over the opposition like a rash.
He's an ox, not a goat.
Yeah, and again, match-winning knocks, match-changing knocks. He was absolutely fantastic. And 335 runs, it tells you the position he's batting in. He's batting at 6. How many other batsmen at 6 are getting those kind of runs? And that's what's absolutely outstanding about him. Also, he's given you more. The one thing that we were all worried about, he injures himself because his upper body is just so strong that he tends to injure himself. He was injury free. He gave them overs as well. There was
17.
He was the complete package. Had a couple of other people just put up their hands, had Rinku Singh played a bit earlier, had that match, had Chahal not devastated them with that hat-trick in that match. And the only one thing I'd say is that for all this that they went down with them, Andre Russell ending with 17 wickets is just amazing given, what they expected out of him. My biggest thing is that at least they ended with a very brave show. I think the last match they played, they played the kind of cricket. I think McCullum embodied that cricket as a coach himself, and I think in his last game as Kolkata's coach, they gave them that kind of innings. They fell just a little bit short, but that was perhaps one of the bravest charges I've seen. Everyone coming in, from a Rinku Singh to a Sunil Narayan, each and every one of them swung their bat, and how well they played.
We talked early on about Ritesh Rana. I think the other structural problem was Shivam Mavi. They expected, if Shivam Mavi had done as well as we know he can, then this Southie Cummins issue would not have come. But you see how many times Shivam Mavi plays one day gone, plays one day gone, plays one day gone. All those changes that you talked about, if Shivam Mavi had been that Indian pacer, already we are talking about 13, 14 Indian pacers and we are not talking about Shivam Mavi.
Yeah.
So I think that was the other big factor.
Yeah, so for the Knight Riders, lots to correct next season. I guess first they have to find a coach. That's right. They got to look for a coach. So we'll be eagerly awaiting what that decision is. And the captain, well, what happens with the captain? Is he still? Yeah, I guess he's still going to be the captain, right? Right? He was good.
I think we discovered that Shreyas Iyer, all the hype around his captaincy, he's good, but he's work in progress as a captain.
All right. Let's talk about another team that has had some issues. Well, they had the issues last year with David Warner, talking about Hyderabad. And this year, they got a new captain who captained really well, right? But just couldn't buy a run for love or money. Kane Williamson was just so woefully out of form. It was, as a fan, it was just getting a little painful to watch. Didn't play the last game because, had to go back home for personal reasons. But you just see them through the season, right? First, they had a couple of losses and then they got 5 wins in a row. And you were saying, oh, geez, this is the Hyderabad that we wanted to see. They've got a good bowling attack. Rahul Tripathi in great form. You're getting, why do we not have a picture of Abhishek Sharma? That's weird. I'm sorry, that just struck out. Why is he a police sketch? That's so weird. Where is he?
I'll call up. I'll get a picture of you guys. Next time, just ask me, guys. I have a picture of him.
Yeah, you've got a selfie of him. But yeah. So anyway, but Abhishek Sharma, of course, brilliant. Umran Malik, all the hype around him. Getting his, the ball up to 157, and everybody just went nuts about that. Rahul Tripathi, I think for me, Rahul Tripathi really has been one of the stars for this team. He may not show up in that top run getters list, but if you talk about impact of the runs, Joy, and that's what we talk about, right? It's not just about the total aggregate. It's not about just the strike rate. You also have to add context and impact. And once you do that, Rahul Tripathi really was kind of one of the superstars for Hyderabad.
Yeah, absolutely. He got 403 odd runs. Superb. He was not 403, 413 runs. Amazing strike rate. And I think that's what it, 158 strike rate, 159 almost. And I think that's what Rahul Tripathi was the difference maker. When he was on, when he was getting his runs, they were winning. And I think he was responsible for a large part of that 5 streak of 5 wins that they had. He was really giving them something. I think Abhishek Sharma also had a good season because he did what he was told to do. Their big problem was that their biggest gun didn't fire, which was their captain didn't fire, and they got very little from the rest of the batting order. But those two guys, Abhishek Sharma and Rahul Tripathi, literally kept them in the hunt for a long, long time, at least with the bat.
Yeah.
He just gets T20 cricket. I have a lot of time for Rahul Tripathi. He gets T20 cricket. And how Rahul Tripathi cannot be in an Indian team that does not have its test players in it. We must be the greatest Indian batting side since the game of cricket was invented. He just gets T20 cricket. You have to look at players who understand T20 cricket. Sanju Samson, I know sometimes you think, okay, we've given him chances. But these are the players who just get T20 cricket. Rahul Tripathi is made to play like that. I can't believe we haven't found space for Rahul Tripathi to play for India. Rahul Tripathi was, as Joy said, was the shining light in that Sunrisers team, where once again Nicholas Pooran, one of the brighter stars, had a patchy performance. Aiden Markram, some days yes, some days no. But without Rahul Tripathi, you're looking at that side and say, oh my God, what do we have left now here? What a player he is in T20 cricket. He's always plus in the field. And if he doesn't score runs, he doesn't use up balls. And that is how T20 cricket is played.
Yeah. Gee, see, there you go. That's kind of the magic potion there, right? It's understanding and joy. The formats have become so far, the kind of the delta between these performances between these formats has become so much that I think it's about time everybody got cognizant of the fact that one day cricket is just completely different kind of cup of tea than T20.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole question of playing yourself in, the number of balls you can allow yourself to play yourself in, those concepts are gone. You don't play yourself in.
Or taking a single after a six. Or taking a single after a six. Oh, he took a single after a six, but why did he hit another six?
No. It's 7 of 2 balls. That's not good enough.
Exactly.
Exactly. Oh, he took a single after a six. No. If the next ball was to hit, you hit that one too.
Exactly.
You keep going. Umran Malik, let's talk about him. There was a lot of talk. Will he be in the Indian team? Will he not? Just earth-shattering. Harsha, that pace, that's just quick. And you must have seen it live. Can you see it live, first of all? Can you see it? Or does it just...
He's got something that no other Indian at the moment has, which is raw pace. You talk to the Wasims and the Wakars and everybody, and they say there is one thing you cannot be taught, and that is pace. Once you've got pace, let's work with him and see if he can develop anything else. But he has pace. It's raw, by the way, at the moment. He's completely raw. It's not a body that's gone to a gym. It's not a body that's understood itself. It's not a body that a physio or a trainer is made to bowl fast. He just runs in and bowls fast. That's it. That's his body. That's the fast twitch muscles. I don't know if there are fast twitch muscles, but that's what generates pace. But more than all the hype around Umran Malik and the pace and giving the 1 lakh pocket money after every game for the fastest ball bowled, hardcore 22 wickets.
Yeah.
22 wickets is a seriously good season.
Yeah.
So if you look at that also, what happens is high economy rate. Why? Because they're using him towards the middle and towards the end. Now, what does Imran Malik do? What is he really good at? Really fast bowlers and leggies are very good at eating up lower order batsmen. Because somebody who bats in normally at 7 and 8 is not used to 150, 155. So what he's done, the 22 wickets, is he's very often just knocked over the tail. He's gone really fast at you. Or if you're trying to slog him, you're slogging anyone at 155, you're not going to get very far. You're going to top it. You're going to make mistakes. So that's what he's doing. And I think in that sense, I think Kane Williamson used him well. If you use him in the top order bowling, say in the first 2 of the first 6, with the kind of bowler that he is, they will not take chances against him. And even if he's a few kilometers faster than somebody else, they'll know how to play. But you bowl him at a batsman either needing to swing at every ball or batting at number 7 or 8, he's absolutely lethal. They used him really
2 overs. Delivered. 2 overs in the power play, and they both went for 20 plus. So it's like he comes fast and he goes fast. Yeah, that's what happens in the power play.
Sometimes faster than he came.
You saw that.
Especially when Ruturaj Gaikwad went after him. But there were a lot of batsmen who did not like that length ball rearing up or the back of a length ball rearing up at them. When he starts to swing the ball, he will be some bowler when he starts to swing the ball. But I don't know. I mean, he needs to be handled really well. But I think let's put aside all the hype from the wickets or from the pace and say he gave you 22 wickets.
True. That's right. That was big. Our last team that we speak about now is Punjab. I don't know. Like, what do you say? You look at that team, and we speak about match winners, right? You look at that team, and it is studded. It's packed to the rafters with match winners. And yet they're not winning the matches, right? I mean, they came very close this year. They can look back and they can say that, we won 7 and we were at 14 points and 1 more win and we would have qualified. But it was just on the days. It's, again, context, right? It's on the days, Joy, that they get it wrong, that they get it so frustratingly wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I think look, they went with the Birmingham Phoenix batting approach, which is that you keep hitting. And when the first match, when they did it, if you remember the first match, Bangalore scored 205. They chase it down. And I think the highest score by a single batsman in that Punjab innings is about 43 or 44. Everyone gets runs. So they 40s and 20s, 40s and 20s. And everyone is looking at them and saying, this is the new order of T20 batting. Guys coming out here, performing their roles and getting out. And then it starts to go wrong for them. I mean, Rajapakse was there, then Bairstow comes in, Rajapakse goes out, but they're fragile in the top order. Shah Rukh Khan goes completely off. And Odean Smith just proves that he's a bit one-dimensional. So once batsmen get to like him, or even bowlers understand that he's going to try and back everything, he's simply not the impact that he had in the beginning. And then suddenly it all falls apart. And while I thought Livingston was absolutely sensational, I thought not enough from enough people.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know, they seem to have, they changed their strategy. They will go, if you're going after one belief, Harsha, and you have one philosophy, you've got to give that your best. You can't suddenly just become the opposite and say, all right, now we want stability and solidity. You can alter it a bit. You can't go 180 on your philosophy mid-tournament.
It's like saying, I'm going to have a 100% equity portfolio. Like, oh, market down, okay, debt kharido. That was Punjab to me, because they worked on the principle that in any case, whatever you do, you will win. If you're a good side, you will win 60-65% of your matches. You will lose 30% of your matches, come what may. So let's go boom, 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 boom. When we win, we win. But we should be prepared to lose 30% of our matches. Right? 30% of 14 matches is you lose 5.
Yeah.
Okay, I've just gone up a little bit. You lose 5, you're still winning 9 games. That's taking you through. But then you've got to stay with that. To stay with that, they needed to play an Odean Smith at number 7. Now, when Bairstow comes back, you've got Bairstow, Rabada, Odean Smith, Livingston. There's no place for Rajapaksa. So what do you do instead of Rajapaksa? That was Shah Rukh Khan. If Shah Rukh Khan had played that role that Rajapaksa did, because remember, out of syllabus, out of planning, they found a gem.
Jitesh.
Punjab have found a gem in Jitesh Sharma.
Jitesh, yes.
He's filled so many slots for them. So if Shah Rukh has done well, they don't need to play Rajapaksa. You play Odean Smith. Livingston's giving you 2 overs every game. Tell Odean Smith, I only want 2 from you in the middle overs, but dude, go back and give me 4 or 5 innings a season.
Yeah,
but
true.
I don't know what it is with Punjab, because when you started off saying Punjab, and I said, Punjab, I don't know.
Yeah. That's I don't know. I just don't understand what goes on there, because they've got the fabulous players. They've got their, like we said, bank in Shikhar Dhawan. He's going to give you a 450 plus run season. So he does that. He gives you the solidity at the top. You've got all the people firing, and then they have, they're dropping people again. They're chopping and changing. And I don't think they had any big kind of injury concern or anything.
And Indian core. The Indian core, you've got a top gun at the top in Shikhar Dhawan. You've got a top gun at the bottom in Arshdeep Singh. Yeah. But Rahul Chahar didn't deliver for them. And
let's talk about their captain. Their captain, again, like Hyderabad, the captain who just couldn't get any form going at all, and just then slipped himself down the batting order. And, a good guy, a good batter. Again, heavy lies the head that wears the crown. And I think that has happened to Punjab as well. When you have a captain who can't find form, and you kind of see that right down the thing. You have a captain that can't really, you need a captain that overperforms, right? Who optimizes his own talent.
Absolutely. Didn't get 200 runs. And the other thing was that I think for his team's sake, he was switching himself up and down the order, because, they wanted Bairstow to open. So he went up, he went down. He never looked comfortable. He just never looked comfortable. And I think he was trying very hard to be a team player, but it was impacting his batting as well. And I think that sometimes it's that bind that you get yourself into. Perhaps they might just think about saying that, suppose we release him from captaincy and say, okay, go and be the batsman that you used to be. You were a destructive top order batsman. For him not even to be in the discussion now, when the Indian team is being discussed, is just, for a guy who was 2 seasons back, perhaps one of our hottest young prospects, that's just it's a bit of a shame.
Travesty. Ooh, but who would be that captain? All right, that's not our decision. Well, they'll decide. Punjab anyway gives you a new captain every season, so I'm sure they'll have some surprise for us next year. They want to build a big squad of former captains, don't they? Oh, I'm just kidding. Just be naughty. A little naughty towards the end, but not that much. It's still factual. It's kind of factual, isn't it? It's factual. How many? Joy will tell us. While I show you the points table, Joy, please, if you can count that high, tell us all the captains that Punjab has had. Let's show you the points table in the meanwhile and say how it's crazy to watch Joy right now. He's really struggling for the first time to remember all. Gujarat, Rajasthan.
Just as when you put the points table up.
Yeah. It's like literally scratching his head right now. But Gujarat, we'll get some support for you. Gujarat, Rajasthan will, of course, be playing the first qualifier. Lucknow and Bangalore will play the eliminator. The eliminator. I am coming to you with the eliminator. And then, of course, there's Delhi and Punjab were almost there, but not to be. And then, of course, you've got all the trophies down with those 4 teams at the bottom. It's 5, 4, 2, and 2. Remember, Hyderabad is 2. It was the previous team that won. It's the Deccan Chargers. They won. So there you go. That's 13 trophies there out of the 14 given out so far. So there you go. Yeah, it's exciting times, isn't it? It's turned. The tables are turned. Joy, I can't stall anymore. You got to give us a number.
I think it's 10. I think it's 10, yeah.
I think it's more.
Captains of Punjab Kings?
Yeah.
Joy, I don't know if 10 is right or no, but that you should know beats me.
I'm just trying
Why would you know?
I'm just trying to counting.
Of course, he would know. He knows everything. He's Joy Factor.
He's Joy. He also knows
everything.
which school some South Africans went to and which school some Barbadians went to. He knows everything.
He knows everything. He knows.
So
still give him some.
You've been getting my questions, I see.
Yeah, we'll still give him some time to see. But why don't you tell us, all of you? Let us know. I don't know where you're watching, but maybe there's some comment section there. Is there? Yeah. Just give us your answer. How much is it? 10, 12, 13, 9? I don't know. But you can also tell us on Twitter, #Cricbuzz Live. So tell us anywhere. And if you get it right, then you get a big prize. And that big prize. Yeah, that's a big prize. What? Didn't know? Okay. Moving on. Let's have a look at.
Did you intentionally mute yourself?
Of course
what are you talking about? No. Big prize. You guys didn't hear me? Or I go again. The big prize
is in his house.
Get this right.
If Gaurav Kapur ever invites you home, say, can I use the washroom? And pretend to go to the washroom and quickly look around. You'll see a lot of red tables. All hiding in his house.
I cannot, at the moment, confirm or deny these allegations. Yes? But I will
I'll tell you what else I missed.
Eye on you when you come next.
I'll tell you what else I missed before we end.
Yes.
I missed being in the studio with Joy, suddenly turning on the program that he's watching.
Watching the show that he's on. That's right.
Correct.
Do it now,
I missed that this year. Joy, you have to do it next year. He's have to do it next year.
He's actually frozen. He's actually frozen as we spoke about that. That's amazing. And he froze with that hand in the cookie jar expression. That's amazing how he froze at that time. Even the internet is conspiring to help us. All right, let's talk about the game that's happening tomorrow. That's the first qualifier. One bouncy step to the final. That's right. Win this game and then wait the rest of the week for the kids to fight with each other, right? Who's going to join us on the next Sunday in Ahmedabad? That's happening in Calcutta tomorrow. Gujarat playing Rajasthan 1v2. And let's have a quick look at the Gujarat team. Let's just go straight into it, Harsha. Are we looking at any changes perhaps at all in this Gujarat team?
I don't think they need to. Unless Saha's hamstring. I don't know what the status with Saha's hamstring is. So if Saha's hamstring is fine, they don't need to make any changes because otherwise they just have to play Matthew Wade. But otherwise, just go. Maybe play Matthew Wade as opener again, get Abhinav Manohar back. But other than that, or maybe get a Sai Sudarshan back, they won't want to go down that route. But otherwise, why would you make changes? I know that they didn't end the season as strongly as they started, but really it's a side that's pretty well. As long as everyone's fit, it's a side that's pretty well stable. So I don't see the need for any big changes. It's just, from their point of view, just 2 more games. That's the way they should be thinking.
Yeah, and is there a way to play Loki and Alzari Joseph together? I don't know. Rashid takes you one spot.
Depends on what the conditions in Calcutta are. Don't forget that we're moving to unknown conditions.
Correct. West to east. Completely.
So it depends on what the conditions in Calcutta are. and I only look up and the rain stay away.
Yeah.
Has it rained today though? Out your window? Can you tell us?
No, I don't want to sound rude, but it, like a few other things, it threatened but did not deliver.
It's not rude. That's fine.
But this is Kolkata at this time.
It's like the internet in your hotel, isn't it?
It's delivered for 89 minutes.
90 minutes. That's right, 90 now. Wow, well done. Good job. Well, coming back to the Gujarat team who has delivered 10 out of the 14 games. Joy, the conditions, of course, will play a big part, but do you otherwise see any changes coming in this team? I feel for Matthew Wade because he was not out in the last game. But if he plays at 4, this team's looking great, right?
Yeah, look, they would have, if this one was fit, if Ridhiman Saha is fit, they would definitely like to go with both two fast bowlers. I'm just speaking to a couple of people in Kolkata. They've used the pitches around this for the Kuch Behar Trophy about 15 days back, and it's looked really nice and juicy. I mean, the ball's coming on, it's looking really nice and fresh. And obviously, I think the groundsmen have done an outstanding job in places like the Wankhede to allow it to play for 21 days. If they could play Alzari and Lockie, this is the time to play it. Also, remember, big match, you might just be tempted to say that if instead of Alzari, if you have to choose one of them, go with the guy who's more tried and tested, maybe take Lockie in that condition. I think though that's the only thing that they'll really be looking at. One thing they've done really well is not to change too much. And look, the other thing is, do you play the spinner? I mean, do you play Sai Kishore? Because do you play another fast bowler? If you are in a situation where you can't play both the fast bowlers, both the international fast bowlers, does somebody like a Pradeep Sangwan come in maybe as a bowler as well? That's something you can look at as well.
All right, let's have a look at the Rajasthan team. Of course, they finished 2 on the points table. Great bowling attack, of course. We just spoke about that. We've spoken about that a lot right through the tournament and especially in the review show as well. But if you have a look at that team, this team's doing all right. You don't need to mess around with it.
Very, very settled. If everybody is fit, then they're going Butler, Jaiswal, Samson, Padikkal, Hetmeyer, Rian Parag, Ashwin, and then the 4 bowlers. They're very settled. They don't mind Trent Bolt at 8 if he swings his bat. By the way, Trent Bolt scored his first boundary in the IPL this year. First 4 in the IPL this year.
I didn't know that. Wow.
And he's batting at 8. But they don't mind him batting at 8 if he goes and swings his bat. They're saying top 7 score the runs, bottom 4 take the wickets. And that's how it's worked for them.
That's right. Just get that job done, man. It's pretty easy, isn't it? Well, of course, a very important
game tomorrow. It's the one team that looks most settled.
Yeah, it does.
Don't need to make any changes.
Yep.
Also, remember one thing, Gaurav, they played a lot of the season with just 3 international players. They played a lot of matches with just 3 international players because they said, you know what, our Indian guys are doing it for us. So it's only recently that they've bought in McCoy and saying that, okay, let's get in the extra fast bowler. But they weren't bothered. They were getting it done. And to be honest with you, Kuldeep Sen was doing a fantastic job for them.
Yes.
So that's the one thing that I'm really missing, that it would have been great to see him because he's one of the kids definitely who's shown what kind of talent Indian bowling has.
Well, so that's the first game. Remember that if you qualify 1 or 2, you get 2 chances to go into the final, which is a far easier explanation than 2 bites of the cherry, which I have no idea after 15 years what it means, because I have never, ever in my life needed 2 bites to eat a cherry. So I don't understand what that means. Maybe the 2 learned gentlemen here on the panel can throw some light on that before we go.
You always take 2 bites because the first bite tells you if there's a little worm inside or no.
Wow.
What? The cherry.
I was just checking if you're listening.
Yeah, of course I am.
I have no clue what 2 bites of a cherry is because
thank you.
Are you eat a cherry like that? And put the stalk. I'm exactly like you.
Yeah, just take the pip and throw it out. I don't know. Unless you want to eat the pip as well. Do you want to eat the seed, the stone? Joy? You don't want to?
Oh, the only explanation I can find is that apparently originally it wasn't 2 bites of a cherry, it was 2 bites of an apple, which tends to make sense.
Yeah.
But when it became 2 bites of a cherry, how it suddenly reduced to a cherry, nobody knows.
I don't get
it. Cherry.
Yeah, and unless
just put your hand back in one of your books and tell us the answer.
I wish it was there.
Yeah, but he can't do that because
No, not these ones. There's one out there which might. I can check.
we've lost him. We've lost him. He's gone. All right. So before Joy actually starts a book reading here, where I think it's time to sign off, a big thank you to Joy Bhattacharya. Thank you so much for joining us from your library in Gurgaon, which are words that are never said in a sentence together. So thank you so much for doing that. And a big thank you to Harsha Bhogle, whose internet has held up in Kolkata for now 95 minutes, which is the greatest uplabdhi of this show.
Correct.
That is amazing.
I will get more
Sandesh for everyone. More Sandesh.
More Sandesh. Say it correctly, Joy. How do you say it?
Sandesh.
Sandesh.
Joy. While we're at it, before Gaurav ends, just pronounce that for me. The one that you make with the jaggery and the season good norer.
Nolen Guresh Sandesh. So Nolen is actually
Christopher.
It's actually archaic Bengali for Notun, which means new. So basically, Nolen Guresh Sandesh means new good, fresh good Sandesh, basically. But
instead of Sandesh, you can have Rasgulla. It tastes better. Chalo.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's archaic use for a word that means new. That's only Bengalis. Only Bengalis. That's why it's Nolan, because it's messing with your head. Yeah, there you go.
Well done. That was well played. Really well.
On that lovely, enlightening note, I'd like to thank both Harsha and Joy. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. A big thank you to all of you for watching Cricbuzz Live. I hope you enjoyed this live stream. I'm Gaurav Kapur, and we, of course, will be with you through the playoffs, all the 4 games in English and in Hindi. I just also want to remind you that at 7 p.m., we have the review show in Hindi, fresh cast, fresh opinion. Of course, they have been listening to us and making notes. So in a way, it'll kind of be a translation because we're just geniuses, but we'll give the kids a chance. All right. So join them there. And they, of course, actually will look ahead at the playoffs because I told them you can't use any of the material that we've used. So that's it. Cut their wings. All right. You were watching Cricbuzz Live. I'm Gaurav Kapur. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.